Okay, so as you mentioned, we'll just jump right into it. This whole car situation, where we go from here. You know, obviously, me and Andy talked about our opinions, our thoughts on things. Very interested to hear yours, get yours down on this, and yeah, we'll just go right into it. Um, Take it away, Ern.
I said in the beginning of the year that I told you both that, you look around the league and these teams like the Chargers who hit on Herbert, and could pay him a rookie contract, have the ability to sign big defensive free agents and stack up a defense. And I was saying in the beginning of the year, like, hey, we got to explore, you know, not throwing a third of our salary cap at Derek Carr, but maybe get somebody new in and a rookie contract where we can spend more money on better free agents. And looks like that's going to happen now, which when I said it, it was cool. But now that it's here in reality, I feel bad for Derek Carr. This guy loved the Raiders. He was a good Raider. It was just like Andy said, he's not the problem, but he's also not the solution. So we know that Mark Davis, he swings for the fences. He had a good coach in Jack Del Rio, fired him to hire what he thought was a great coach in John Gruden. And we had a good coach in Bisaccia, and he didn't bring him back because he thought he had a great coach in McDaniels to bring in to do great things. And now I feel like the same is true with Carr. Like, we have a good quarterback, but he's willing to blow it up to get somebody great in here. And I just see that as the pattern of Raiders front office. I will say, after watching Stidham play, all we need is a quarterback to get our guys the ball. And if you can't because you're scared of pressure in the pocket or whatever, bring in somebody that can deliver the ball. So the media report said that Carr was really quick to get frustrated this year, which kind of tells me, like, I think he knew that this was a prove it year. It was probably communicated to him. The media and Twitter and all that always provide this picture of, oh, this or that. And I'm always interested in, like, I want to know what the Raiders think, not what, some homie who's tweeting thinks. You know what I mean?
Jim
And
Bob
so,
892674 Raider Nation
yeah,
R4L.
yeah, and we've discussed how polarizing Derek Carr was, and man, it is just so polarizing out there now. But I, the two parties, they met for two different nights and sat and talked about it and decided that this is the way they're going to go. But then you see Derek's brother David on NFL Network being upset about it. But in my honest opinion, I think there was constant communication between the two. Raiders can be accused of, hey, that's not a professional way. But I think the way, if Derek was getting frustrated all year long when things weren't going that well, he kind of knew that, like, hey, this is my resume right now, and it's getting screwed up by the poor play of everybody. So I don't think it's as bad as people think, and I think we're somewhere in the middle with all of that. But hey, okay, we made our decision. Let's move on now. Let's get ahead. The fact that we saw what a guy like Stidham could do in this offense now has me thinking, with the draft, we don't have to get a top tier quarterback anymore. We could spend that draft pick on a stud D lineman or cornerback or somebody. So that leaves me with some hope there, because I don't want to throw all my bags that we have to get a quarterback out of this, first round of the draft. If we do because there's somebody they really love and they want to go for it, well, that's another story. But we know there's only so many first round draft picks at quarterback that actually do anything. Watching that Niner game, look at Brock Purdy. He was the third string quarterback on that team, and that guy delivers the ball to his team. He's out there just feeding his receivers and Kittle and all those other guys, that's all you need. You need a guy that can just feed the ball and read the defense, hit the open guy, and let McDaniels manage the game. Just get the ball delivered. And so I don't think we need some super special number one pick overall to fix this. I'm looking forward to getting our defense better. So, and as far as the stopgap quarterback, I see your point. I see, the rumors in the offseason about what Dana White was trying to get going here 2 years ago or whatever. And I could see Mark Davis being like, I want that. And so he's, doing the same moves he did before. Like, I'll get rid of the good because I think there's great out there. So I wouldn't be surprised with that happening either. But I think to fix this team, we really got to shore up our defense.
I like all of that. What you're saying is, there's no doubt that the defense needs help, right? We have these games where you think, all right, the defense, like we had five. I think it was I was talking about it. We had 5 straight games where the defense put held the other team to I think 21 points or less, right? And you have those games, and those are the games that we need to pull out and we need to get wins on, right? And I think that's where a lot of the heat on Derek Carr came into play. Was like when your defense did play good, you couldn't do anything to help them out, and you couldn't put up points to help get these wins. But like you said, it really can be as simple as like finding someone who can consistently get your guys the ball, run the play scheme, and the game plan, that McDaniels has set up, and not make mistakes. Like that seems so cliche. That seems like you're just simplifying things. At the end of the day, that's really really all you need. It is very intriguing. Being in a top 10 position that we're in, it would obviously completely out of the Bryce Young running. It would be interesting to see how the whole CJ Stroud situation, pans out, but we would essentially have to trade up for that. And really, we might even, only be lucky to be sitting there with the chance to draft Will Levis. And do they even want to do that? Right. So I think there is a lot of top end defensive talent that could be available there. There's some offensive line talent that'll be available in that range. So it'll be very interesting to see. I hate that like offensive line isn't a sexy pick, right? When you're looking in the first round and you're like, oh, they just take the number one tackle. I'm like, that's not exciting at all, even though it's like, something that we would need. But it is going to be very interesting because it is going to all kind of hinge on which route they want to go. I think having Stidham and being where he is and how he played, I think that gives you hope that he can come in here and start next season, and we could pick up where we left off. I mean, that was the biggest thing that we were talking about. It's like it's hard to sit here and admit that like we might need to blow this thing up and start over, right? But can we kind of pick up where we left off or not go backwards too much and be able to work our way forward still? I think Stidham gives us that hope. And I think in regards to this game and right now at where we're at in the season, Stidham, gave us a better chance at winning than Carr did. But to your point of his prove it year, I feel like, I didn't necessarily realize it until all this stuff kind of came out on his contract and how they've gotten out and everything. And we touched on it a little bit, but you look at Jacobs, they didn't pick up his option. They said, prove it. This is your prove it season. They went out, they re-signed Waller, they re-signed Renfro, they picked up Devontae Adams. They said, here, Carr, here is your best friend, all the weapons that you can need. And, the weapons that got you guys to the playoffs last year, your best friend that's the number one wide receiver in the NFL. Your contract, the way we structured it, it's got a 1-year prove it deal. And we have the ability to get out if we'd like to. So I think to your point, I think it very much so, I feel like was probably communicated in like hey, like everything that you've done for this organization and everything you've done in your career has been very good, but that's in the past. We need to see it from you, and we're giving you all of the tools to do so. We need to see it, or that's it. Um, you know, so That would make sense. If Carr's getting frustrated very early and having issues, I feel like he's been a lot more emotional this year. We obviously had the situation where he was, breaking down in the press conference and all that kind of stuff. But along with just the frustration or the anger or whatever it was, it seemed like he was little more vocal this year and a little more emotional, and that would line up with all of that. So yeah, I don't. It's this offseason is going to be wild. I mean, there was when Devontae got traded for, it was like, all right, this offseason's awesome. Like, I can't wait for the season to start. This offseason is going to be one of the more important ones. I feel like that we have. Obviously, we got to figure out the quarterback situation, but I feel like there's a lot of ways we can go. There's a lot of situations that they could choose, but nonetheless, kind of just excited for something new, right? We just feel like we've just been hanging on with this Derek Carr, like you said, that Andy said. He's not the problem, but he's not the solution. The Raiders are just in this purgatory of like kind of good, not great, and we need to do something to get to the great, and it means just kind of moving on at this point from Derek Carr and seeing what we have in either Stidham, the guys on the roster, or where we go from here on bringing someone in.